I'm going live because for some reason my lives tend to get more views than my video content. I don't know if it's because they only notify you guys when I'm live, but I wanted to have a frank discussion, and I'm going to allow the playback feature on here for the simple fact that I feel like this is a very important video. Good morning, Noel. How are you? Love, light, and blessings. Give me 1 second. I'm going to close my door. Um, there we go. But yeah, I'll put the playback feature because I wanted to talk about something. Probably be the last video I'll talk about this, but I notice when I make videos, because I get shadow banned a lot in here, they get way less views. But anytime I go live, I get 200-300 views within a short period. So I don't know if YouTube sets up the notifications where they let you know that I went live, or and then when I make videos, nobody knows that I make videos. Like, I really don't know what's going on with that, but I wanted to go live because I want as many people to watch this live and share this live. So a lot of people are very upset with the people of color community, right? You know the term BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color, right? A lot of people with the elections, which are rightfully so, are upset with people that they consider. Hold on, I have like my battery's dying. They're upset because they're like, why did Latinos vote so high in number um, for Donald Trump? Especially when predominantly, if we look at Obama, 72% of Latinos voted for Obama, right? The Spanish vote helped him in both of his elections. I'm speaking on numbers and facts, so this is not like a in passion in defense of anybody kind of thing either, by the way. Just a disclaimer. But if you notice the voting trends, right? There are 30 million Latinos as of 2022, right? Yes, I know. It has been a crazy few days. Hope you're better. Black folks nationwide are being sent cotton picking messages. My family's on edge. It's like, how did that info get out? Yes. So, Noel, let me tell you, I got that notification too, because when I filled out the census, right? I filled out when they ask you your race, I filled out Black and Native American, right? So yesterday, I got the same text message. I also got like some weird Trump messages about mass deportations because I identify as a Black Caribbean person, right? So that is valid. That is very, very true. Like, it's very scary times that we're living in right now. And I'm so sorry that you have family. And I think this is the reason why I wanted to go live and make this video, because I didn't learn. I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't learn about the real meaning and definition of what race is. And I'm trying to explain why so many Latino, quote unquote, people of color actually voted so high in number for Donald Trump, who openly is, let's be honest, a white supremacist, misogynist, horrible human being. Why they didn't stand on business and support, the Black community in bigger numbers. This is not a defense of that. This is going to explain why this happened. It's not. I feel like the news is gaslighting everybody with the whole. Even Bernie Sanders, I like him, but he's like, the reason why they lost the Latino vote is because of the economy and da 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 and all this bullshit, right? Notice there's a huge difference even between male Latinos and female Latino voters, right? In the female Latino voters, right, we had over 90%, right, of Black women, 92% if I'm not mistaken, because I already saw the exit polls and I already knew, like, I've been in a lot of Black spaces. Um, I feel like sometimes when a marginalized person speaks, you should shut the fuck up. So I shut the fuck up, excuse my language, and kind of just allow Black women to feel how they feel. They feel very abandoned by the Latino community, and rightfully so. But I'm going to explain. I have notes here. Like, we're gonna do I like to teach stuff, so yeah. So Bernie Sanders is also out of touch, because if he was so great for the working class, why did he become president? I'm not trying to be rude, but let's just keep it real. I think that people don't want to admit what really happened. The results of November 5th's election had to do with misogyny, okay? So sexism played a role, and white supremacy. We are seeing in real time, right, that unlike Hillary Clinton, who only was not the president, right? Remember, she won the popular vote. The reason why she got, even her, again, Obama got 72% of the Latino vote. That's almost comparing to black men who voted 78% for Kamala. Okay, let's look at numbers. Even Hillary Clinton did better than Kamala, both on the popular vote, okay, and within the Latino community. And this is not me bashing Latinos, because this is not what it is. I'm just talking to you guys factually. Kamala only got 53% of the Latino vote. That means that 47% of Latinos voted and aligned with the white supremacist thoughts of Donald Trump. Because no matter how anybody wants to sugarcoat it, that's what happened. It was a vote against the integrity and the democracy of our country versus falling into white supremacy. I've been reading Project 2025. I've been organizing with organizations, because when I tell you it's going to get real, it's going to get real. When Kamala was, I live in a swing state, her people working for the campaign, I was practically begging them. I said, I am very fluent in Spanish. I said, I feel like we're going to lose the election because of the male Latino vote. I think that, and they're like, no, because I said, stop talking to them about abortions. The predominant population of Latinos are Catholic. I'm going to be honest, Latino men tend not to care about, a lot of them are pro-life, you need to have my baby type of situation. I'm not being certain, I'm just being real. A lot of Latinos vote Republican a lot of times because they only look at abortion, right? And they only vote, okay, I'm Catholic, I'm gonna vote on abortion, and that's it, right? So this is why even within the women, you have 61% versus that 39% that voted with Trump. That was a lot of evangelical Latinos that are usually from like Pentecostal Baptist background. They didn't like Trump. They voted for, they want him to bring Christianity into the world. And then you have, let's be real, some Latinos that literally are just racist and sexist, okay? Let's just keep it real, right? So this is why, as a whole, only 53%, because Kamala's not only a woman, she is a woman of color, okay? She is a biracial Indian and Black woman. But the term Latino in itself is a very misleading title. When I do the census, it's very hard for me to, you know how most people, you'll be like, okay, I'm Black, I'm white. Yes, this is what I'm going to talk about, my love. We're going to break it down. I'm going to actually, according to the United States Census, the United Nations, and the dictionary, I'm going to define to you what the actual word Latino means. And I'm going to break it down, and we're going to get into it. This is the reason why I just wanted to go live, because I feel like I understand, I completely understand how Black women feel alone right now, and you are justified in feeling how you feel, okay? But understand that there is a such thing as Black Latinos that share the same experience as Black people in America, okay? Because Latino is not a race. And I've been on so many pro-Black platforms explaining that. But like in the comment section, like some people read my stuff and some people don't. It is easier for me to come on live and kind of just, again, because I get lost in the algorithm every time I make a video, I feel like it's easier for me to start going live more and making the same content that I usually make, but it's going to reach a wider audience. I encourage you guys to share this live, because I really, really, really want to explain. Again, this is not the defense of anything. So let's define the word ethnicity. Ethnicity and race are two completely different things. Okay? An ethnicity, or AKA an ethnic group, are people who share characteristics such as they have a common distinctive culture. So ethnicity has to do with a shared culture, right? Like, for instance, there's a such thing as Black culture, American culture, blah 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 blah, right? So there's a such thing as a Latino culture, right? Because Latino, or because they're not the same, Hispanic, that's a culture, that's an ethnicity, Okay, ethnicity is not a race. Listen to the meaning of it. According to Webster's dictionary, right, are a group of people who share similar characteristics, right, such as culture and religion, right? Understand in the Latino culture, there is a heavy machismo culture where there are people that think that women cannot do the same thing as men. They are very traditional in culture, right? Most of the time, and I was married to a Latino, the woman is the stay at home, or even if she works, she's subservient to her husband, blah, 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 blah. I'm just being honest and real. I'm not saying all Latinos, but there's a majority, even within the women, that play into gender roles and misogyny. This would explain not just the religious context, because remember they said, and shared religion. Understand that we were colonized in Latin America and the Caribbean predominantly by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is very heavy on pro-life, is why you do have a strong demographic of Latinos that usually vote Republican. George Bush had 44% of the Latino population that voted for him. A lot of voters are one issue voters, which just like abortions. You know what I'm saying? They also have a shared language. Okay. Now, the difference between Hispanic and Latino, because a lot of people use those interchangeably. Oh, I'm Latino. A lot of people are miscalling themselves Latino, but they're actually more Hispanic. And I'm going to explain why. Or you can be both. Okay. So, again, Latino is not a race. It is an ethnic group of people who have same characteristics, common distinctive culture, religion, language, so on and so forth. All right. Or they could even have the same place of origin. Right. Okay. Now, all right. There anyone who also Latino, the name Latino, is anyone who, regardless of race, is a descendant of Latin America. That is very important. It's why it's called Latino, a descendant of Latin America. Now, I'm going to read off to you what countries are considered part of Latin America. Brazil. Now, Brazilians don't speak Spanish, but they're still Latino. But Brazilians are not Hispanic. Hispanics are people who are descendants of the Spanish people. Spanish people are from Spain. So they have a shared language, right? So even though Brazilians are Latino, they're not Hispanic. You can be both Hispanic and Latino. This is why race studies and critical race theories that they're literally taking out of the schools is so important. I feel like in America, people don't have the concept of what race actually is versus ethnicity. Those are two completely different things, okay? Now, Latinos can also be Mexican, anyone from Colombia, Argentina, Peru, Venezuela, Chile, Guatemala, Ecuador, Bolivia, Haiti. Haitians are Latino because Haitians are descendants from people of Latin America. But because there's so much anti-Blackness in the Latino community, they don't want to claim Haitians. Haitians are Latino too. Okay, thank you. Cuba, Dominican Republic, Honduras, Paraguay, Costa Rica, Panama, okay, Jamaica. Jamaicans are also descendants of Latin America. There are 33 different countries that are part of Latin America. Let's keep going. Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname, Saint Martin, Turks and Caicos, British Virgin Islands, the Caribbean, Netherlands, Anguilla, Montserrat, Falkland Islands. Okay, okay. So on and so forth. Then you also have, outside of the 33, right? We also have U.S. territories such as Belize, Bahamas, Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Vincent's, Grenada's, Argentina, Barbuda, Dominican St. Kitts, Nevis, you have Puerto Rico, Guadalupe, Martinique, French Guiana, Curacao, Aruba, U.S. Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands. I can go on forever. South America, North America. You get my point, right? It's different countries and nations, U.S. territories. Those are all considered Latino because we have a shared history. Latinos were, okay, they were a lot of us are descendants of the diaspora, whether it's Native American diaspora or African diaspora. Okay. We were all colonized, just like they were colonized in America. We have a lot of shared history with African Americans or Black Americans. We really do. Okay. So we get the point, right? Puerto Rico is considered Latino because of their closeness to Latin America. Okay. All righty then. Hispanic. Hispanics are anyone who are descendants of a person of Spanish descent, right? So you can be Hispanic and Mexicano. You can be Hispanic in Puerto Rico, and so on and so forth, right? Anybody who speaks Spanish. So a Haitian is not Hispanic because they don't speak Spanish, right? They're not descendants of Spanish people. But on the other side of the island, Dominicans who share the same island and have, that half of it is Haiti and the other half is Dominicano, they are descendants of Spanish people. Now, yes, Bahamas is considered Latino because they're descendants of Latin America. We need to wake it up. Yes, they are. So basically, when Latinos voted against Kamala Harris, they actually voted against a fellow Latino because Latino is not a race. Jamaicans are also of the Latino culture because it is an ethnic group, but they're not Hispanic. People are confusing Latinos with Hispanic people, with people that speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you could be Cuban, you're Latino, but you're also Hispanic. You can be two things. Again, they're ethnic groups. Okay, ethnic groups. I'm gonna keep going down the definitions here. So, whew, so Hispanic are descendants of anyone of Spanish descent. But what is a Spanish person, right? What is a Spanish person? I'm not Spanish. I may be a descendant of, if we go to Puerto Rico, right? Part of my ancestry that's from Puerto Rico. I am both Hispanic and I am Latina, right? But I am not Spanish. A Spanish person is anybody who's a native to Spain. So when people say, "Oh, where you from?" Puerto Rico, that's a nationality. That is the same equivalent of saying I'm American. Okay, but what kind of American? There are white people. The predominant population in the United States are predominantly European people that, because they have somebody who was born in the island, classify themselves as Puerto Rican. Okay, but you're a white Puerto Rican. Your nationality may be Puerto Rican, but your race is white. That's two different things. Just like you have Black Americans and white Americans, they're from the same nationality, but you are two different races. You have Native Americans. That's what it's important context, right? So, all right. So, Spanish. Spanish are people native to Spain. Spanish people are not people of color. Again, I'm going to repeat. Spanish people are, I'm going to explain why you didn't know that. I'm going to explain why a lot of Latinos are literally victims of the erasure of our racial identity. That is part of our caste system. I'm going to get all into it. Karen, we're going to get into it. This is why I wanted to go live instead, and then people could watch back my video. Okay. So let's talk about, so again, Spanish people are not people of color. Where's Spain? We're going to do a little geography class, right? Spain is in Europe. Now, I looked up Europe. So they are predominantly of European descent. We're going to get into it and people are going to get mad at me, but we got to talk. We got to talk. We got to explain why it is what it is. Okay. So basically, anybody of Spanish descent, right? People of Spanish descent, I looked it up because I broke everything down, all the terms, we're breaking them down. Being of Spanish descent means people who are a group of people who are native to Spain, but also, right, predominantly, because I said, what is the actual race of Spain? The predominant population is of European descent. What does European descent mean? I looked that up too. European descent means predominantly white. Spaniards are white people that talk Spanish. I'm going to repeat it again. Spaniards are Spanish people that talk Spanish. Those are the people that voted for Donald Trump because they're white people. They are not people of color. This is why they voted and aligned with white supremacy, because they may be of the same ethnic group as me, but they're not me because I am not white. And you could clearly see that I'm not white, right? So Yes. Okay. We need to stop saying that Spanish people are people of color because they are of European descent. That is like if they lumped in white Americans and black people together. A black person and a white American have two completely different experiences. A white Hispanic and a white Latino has a different experience than an African descendant or a black Latino, a black Hispanic, or a indigenous Latino or a indigenous Hispanic. Does that make sense? We are different. We're not the same. We're not the same. And they're trying to do this whole divide and conquer so everybody could turn against specifically the brown Latinos. Look at all the pictures on social media. Who are the Latinos that have the MAGA hats? 70% of the Latino population voted for Donald Trump. But I want you to look at their faces. They were predominantly the white Cubans. These are white people with European connections to Spain. Understand too that the diaspora of the Caribbean and Latin America, we had white settlers. Okay, we had Irish people that settled there, we had German people that settled there, that have been living there for hundreds and hundreds of years, but because they were born in Cuba or they were born in Puerto Rico or they were born in Haiti, they're going to say I'm Haitian. Yes, there's white people and white Polish people that live in Haiti. And because America does not understand that they need to stop categorizing us as an ethnicity and start teaching people about race, we need to separate from generic titles because they're trying to make you turn against the brown and black indigenous Latinos that in high numbers actually voted for Kamala. Because if we break it down to race, 90% of brown and indigenous Latinos voted for Kamala. But they want to put us with white people, and that's why the numbers look so shitty, if you want to be wrong on that. Okay, so let's get back to what I'm talking about. So, now, race. Remember, I talked about ethnicity and the subgroups and all that. Now, race. Race is physical appearance, according to the dictionary, skin color, hair texture, and facial features. Okay? And even the formation of your eyes. Mark Anthony, Jennifer Lopez are white Latinos. They're not the same as Cardi B. They're not the same as Amara Negra. They're not the same as me. J-Lo and Mark Anthony's experiences, no offense, I'm not, are going to be completely different because a white Latino is close to whiteness. They come from Europe. They're the same as Italy, French. They're going to have the same experiences. Okay, because they look like white people. It's only when they speak Spanish they may experience xenophobia. Okay, but a brown Latino, a black Latino, we're going to experience xenophobia and racism. And if you're a woman, sexism. My experience compared to someone who looks like J-Lo is going to be completely different. J-Lo can go to the store and shop for stuff, while shamanic Arawak priestess gets racially profiled all the time, told to go back to Africa, and I've been called the Ensler. We have two completely different experiences because I may be of Latino culture, but I am a different race than that person. Cardi B and J-Lo are not the same thing. Cardi B has a black Trinidadian mother and a white Dominican father. She is biracial. Okay. That's why Cardi B has more black features. That's what Cardi B calls herself an Afro Latina. Amara La Negra calls herself an Afro Latina because we are of African descent. Okay. Okay. But I'm going to get more into the Spanish. Now, we are taught in history, right? Oh, it was the British that did slavery and the Dutch and blah, 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 blah. A lot of people don't even know that slavery happened in all parts of the world. In Mexico, in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico. They enslaved us all over the place. But does anybody here know who actually created the slave trade? Who created it was not Britain that created the transatlantic. They were part of it, yeah, Germans and Italians and yeah, but who actually created the transatlantic slavery? Who did that? I'm gonna wait like 2 minutes to see if anybody knows the answer. Who is the one that created? What group of what nationality or racial group created slavery? Portuguese and the Spaniards. Okay, through the queen in Spain. That's why she gave Christopher Columbus those ships and stuff. Yes, the Spaniards. So again, Spaniards are not people of color, because I just explained to you the predominant population of Spaniards, especially during that time of Christopher Columbus, right, are white. They're white. Okay. Okay. A large group of people that identify as Latino are actually European white descendants. Okay. But slavery did not start with the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. No. They created slavery in 1470. Now, if anybody knows, Christopher Columbus shared the ocean blue in 1492. They already had established slavery in Spain in 1470. You know that thing, the war between the Christians and the Moors. Remember, black people were traveling before that. You know what I mean? It was the Spanish merchants that had slavery in Spain that was okay with the Queen of Spain. In 1497, they enslaved the Moors, anyone of African descent that they brought over to Spain, and Christians. Christians separate from like the Catholic Church. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Yes. Then they were like, ooh, let's start exploring different parts of the world for spices. So they hired Christopher Columbus in 1492 because he went to India or whatever. And they started enslaving indigenous people. Okay. Because yes, a Latino person can be Native American. Native Americans don't only exist in America. There are Native Americans in South America, in North America, in the Caribbean. That's why I call myself shamanic Arawak. A lot of Caribbean Latinos, whether they're black, mixed, or whatever the case may be, or mixed with white or whatever, a lot of us have indigenous ancestry. Indigenous people, the Arawaks, never went extinct. They were a victim of paper genocide because they will have to give us back our tribal lands and do treaties with us and all the other things. There's like 500 tribes that were written out of history that if you do blood testing and genetic testing, they still have a lot of indigenous blood in them. Point blank period. But the government ain't gonna give us our land back. So yeah. Now I want to identify to you racial categories. Okay. So if we know that race is physical appearance, skin color, hair texture, facial features, and eye formation, right? These are what actually races are. Again, Latino, Hispanic, or not. I already explained to you that it's not a race. So the races go as follows. American Indian. That's anybody of Alaskan, Native, Native American in North America, South America, Central America. You get the point. Then you have the group of Asian people. And Asian people can also be Indian, like people from India. They're Eastern Asian. You have Western Asian, Chinese, Vietnamese. You get the point, right? They would make up the race of Asian. That's their race, Asian, right? China's your nationality. Filipinos your nationality, but your race, your physical traits is categorized under Asian. Then you have black people in America, black people in throughout the diaspora. Okay, you could be a black British person, you could be a black Puerto Rican, you could be, because again, nationality is not your race. Okay, I learned this in college because when they asked me, "Oh, what's your race?" I was like, "Oh, Haitian and Puerto Rican." My professor's like, "Okay, those are the nationalities that connect to you, but or Latino," they're like, "That's not a race either." And I was very shocked to find out that my race wasn't Latino. But anyways, moving on. So, and then I understood that I'm actually mixed race. But moving on. Then you have specific islanders, and then you have white, right? So the question is, can you be a white Latino? Yes, because a white Latino is someone of predominantly European descent who is of the Latino culture or the Hispanic culture. Now, what is that term they keep using? BIPOC, people of color. A person of color is anyone who isn't white. So therefore, I just explained to you that Spaniards are white, right? They also are the people that enslaved and started the transatlantic slave. When all the indigenous people started dying out and running away, what did they do? They shipped a bunch of people from Black Africans specifically. So they shipped Black people from Africa. And to be honest, the highest concentration of enslaved people was actually the Caribbean. In America, they had a longer lifespan. So it was a lot of like more like everybody having babies with each other and that kind of stuff, and people that were born into slavery, versus in the Caribbean, It was so like there was a lot of gold mining and all that stuff. So doing that type of labor kills people. Like the lifespan in Haiti was sometimes 2 years. So there was a lot more having to ship human people through, the Caribbean. And sometimes they'll go to the Caribbean and they'll be brought to the Americas. But we had the most people in the Caribbean. Also, what's different between the Caribbean diaspora, and even in Latin America, there was when the Spaniards came and the Portuguese came and the Dutch and all that, there weren't any females. They were like no women with them. So they developed something through the Catholic Church, which was called the caste system. Like in America, they have the paper bag test where they created colorism within brown people, texturism and featureism. And so like even like I'm not going to have the same experience as someone who's closer to blackness, that has different types of feature and different types of hair texture, blah 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 blah, right? But again, my daughter, who is more like, her skin is more yellow toned, right, and she's closer to whiteness than me, we're going to have two different experiences, right? Because we have different hair texture to me. And then my mom, who is more black presenting, right? She's going to have a completely different experience than even me, right? So that does make a difference, right? And this is a system that was created by Jim Crow and racism. We had a caste system of over 100 different titles. This is why if you look at the Latino culture, they'll be like, oh, I'm negrita, I'm caramelita, I'm, mestiza, mulata. Like we have so many different names. It's like, okay, so basically you have 1,000 names for being close to blackness. But that's ingrained in our culture. How many Latinos have heard, pa prieta yo, pa mejorar la raza? Don't be out in the sun too much. Okay, let's better the race. Don't stay out in the sun too much. You know what I'm saying? Basically, we're encouraged to procreate and be with lighter skinned people. Like someone who looks like me grew up in a culture where it's like, you gotta go with that Latino that has the blue eyes and blonde hair, because you gotta better your children. Your kids gotta be lighter than you. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I'm just being real. So that comes from the caste system that was created by the Spaniards through the Catholic Church. Okay, they encouraged us to breed out our blackness. So a person who is completely of African descent is on the lowest level of the caste system, whereas someone who's more mixed looking is going to be higher up. And the people that are closer to Spain and European descent, they're on the top. Because unlike in the Americas, where they did rape black women, but a lot of black people have predominantly African descent. Like if you look at ancestry, you're going to get 50, 60, 70, 80% African descent. But in the Caribbean, you're going to have a lot of people like me. They're like 40% African, 20%, 20, 30% American Indian, and then the rest is white, right? Because there was more racial mixing with the white European conquistadores, the Italians and things like that colonized the islands. Okay. They didn't have women. So they were like, well, that mixed girl looks kind of cute. And sometimes it was consensual. And sometimes we had things which my great grandmother was a victim of. They had these legal binding contracts that a white man can literally take a mixed race woman and live with her, kind of similar to New Orleans, where they will have the mulatto balls and stuff, where they will mix with a mixed woman, but she was never allowed to be his wife, right? She was his concubine, and that's all she could be. And he might, take care of her financially, but he has his wife that's of Spaniard culture and blah, 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 right? So, yeah. So, again, these are the racial groups. You do not hear when I said what a race is, anybody say Latino. So, it is a disservice when they lump us with white people, because the reason why they do that, you don't think that white supremacy knows that there's a difference between white Latino, indigenous Latinos, and black Latinos? They do that on purpose because they want to take marginalized people to separate us. And also because people are from the caste system, they literally breed it out. They gentrify us to the point where a lot of Latinos identify with their nationality and not their race. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is why a lot of Latinos will say I'm Latino, and and then when they're filling out the census, they don't even know what to put in there. Okay. There are 26 million white Latinos within the Latino community. You don't think that 26 million makes a difference when people are voting? You know how many Latinos are black in the Latino versus the 26 million white Latinos that are not people of color? 1 million. There's only 1 million Afro Latinos, 300,000 Asian Latinos. We are in the minority. We are the ones that voted with Kamala Harris. This is why there's such a big number. And unfortunately, in America, they purposely don't teach us our history because they want to divide the Black Latinos from the Black community. A lot of Latinos are afraid to say Black. Or when you say what race you are, they could be looking Black all day. We know you Black, but they're going to say, no, remember that joke? I'm no Black, I'm Dominican. Or I know Black, I'm Puerto Rican. Because when they say that, is because they literally, the caste system, okay, made us think that Latino is a race, that Hispanic is a race. The term Latino and Hispanic were actually given to us by the slave master. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. So I am an indigenous Latino. I am a Black Latino. I am a mix. Now, the rest of that number of Latinos, the 3, 4 million, are actually like me. They're mestizos that are mixed with indigenous. So we, the mestizos and Black Latinos, we voted with you. It was the white supremacist Spaniards that were our former colonizers that voted with Donald Trump. I'm not making an excuse. I'm talking to you with facts. The whole agenda of white supremacy is to divide marginalized people. A lot of Black Latinos don't know they're Black because when you tell them, oh, but you're Black, they think that they have to say, I'm not Dominican, because they are in the diaspora of the islands. We don't talk about race like this. We are taught that it's nationality first, race second. So Puerto Ricans, native Puerto Ricans, not the white people that moved from America that live there. I ain't talking about them people, okay? I'm talking about actual Puerto Ricans they are descendants of the Taino people, the original inhabitants, and African people, the indigenous Tainos, okay? They identify with nationality. You're gonna have people. I'm Cuban because in America is a very racial country, whereas in other parts of the world it's nationality then race. We are the only country in the world that makes people fill out when your kids go to school. I've had refused so many times. Like, why do I gotta fill out a race form for my kids to go to school or get a job? No other country does that. They go by nationality. So this is why that number to me was not surprising. With Hillary Clinton, she's going to get a higher number than Kamala because even though she's a woman, she is closer to whiteness because she is white. A white woman is not going to have the same advantage, the same experience as a Black or indigenous woman. A woman who is from First Nations, who are the first inhabitants of the Americas, is not going to have the same experiences as a white woman. This is why Kamala not only lost the electoral college, she lost the popular vote because, again, they aligned. A lot of women voted with their race and not their gender. I'm being real and honest with you. The news is not going to report that the majority of Afro Latinos, indigenous Latinos, and mixed Latinos like myself actually voted for Kamala Harris because they want to divide you and further marginalize Latino people that are actually brown and Black people. A lot of Latinos have this misconception that they identify as Black, that they have to identify as Black American. And because we have already been so gentrified in our countries, we think that I'm sorry, I'm getting very emotional. We think if we say we're only Black, that we have to give up our nationalities that we're so proud of. Do you know that Puerto Rico almost won their liberation on Tuesday? And because of a white woman who calls herself Puerto Rican, they cheated in the election and we lost our right to be independent. We will remain a US colony. It has been so heartbreaking that I see Black women making videos saying we're going to separate from the BIPOC community. We're going to separate from the POCs. Because what people are not understanding is you're giving the white Latinos that are white supremacists the win. Because Afro Latinos like myself, Indigenous Latinos like myself, we have nowhere to go. Because we don't exactly have American culture, right? Because Black American culture is different from Afro Caribbean culture. And a lot of us love our homeland. We're not from America. When white Latinos voted for this mass deportation, I think they forgot something. I'm not just Puerto Rican, I'm Haitian from my mother. So people like my mother, my grandfather, because I had another grandfather that died in Puerto Rico. He passed away from the hurricane. They may be gathered up in a van and taken away because I was born here. I have birthright, but I have an immigrant mother who left Haiti that was colonized for 25 years by America. Not only did America make them pay reparations to their slave master, the French, America colonized us for 25 years illegally and took all the wealth from Haiti. This is why Haiti is the way it is. And so it's not just when people are like, I don't care how Latinos voted because they're all going to go away, blah, 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 blah. They're not thinking about the indigenous Latinos and they're not thinking about the Black Latinos. I have clients that are DACA, that are Jamaican, that are Trinidadian, that are like, I've been in America my whole life. I don't know anything about that country that my parents are from. They're going to also be shipping out Black immigrants. It's not just going to affect the demographic that you think that is going to affect. So I do not rejoice in that. I don't. So for me, the reason why, if you watch my channel, I never say I'm Latino, even though I'm of Latino culture. It is my stance against the term that colonizers called my people Latino. That's actually a slave master, an anti-Black title that they gave us. I am a Black woman. I may be of Caribbean culture, but we have Black Latinos have to start actually saying we're just Black. Take out the fucking Latino out of it. Stop letting them divide you. Because white Latinos showed you that they don't fucking care about you. It was just not white women, and that's the conversation nobody's having on YouTube. The white Latino community showed you they don't give a fuck about you. They showed you brown and Black Latinos and Hispanic, they don't give a shit about you. They don't care if they round you up. So that's why in my channel, I've had a lot of Latino people. Well, you also Latino too. I understand that I have a Latino culture. I understand that I'm Puerto Rican. I understand that I'm Haitian. But before my nationality and before my ethnicity, I am a Black woman. I am the proud daughter of a Black woman who marched with the Young Lords, who marched with the Black Panthers, who has always been a woman who stood up for civil rights of Black people. And I'm proud of that shit. And I'm also a proud daughter of a Native American man that has ancestry in the Americas and in the Caribbean. I am Arawak Taino, and I'm also Navajo. And I'm fucking proud of that shit. So before I'm Latino, before I'm Spanish, before I'm any of that stuff, I am an indigenous Black woman. Because that's how the world fucking sees me. The world sees your race. Stop aligning yourself with white Latinos because they're never going to have your back. They're always going to fucking show you where the fuck they see you. Why do you think America takes the time when you have people that are here, the true inhabitants of America, because white people immigrated here and live on stolen indigenous lands? They make sure they don't call First Nations people Americans. They make sure you know you are Native American. You are Black American. They make sure they other you. So that means they see your racial features. Stop saying you're just Latino. No, baby, you are black before you're Latino. You are black before you're Caribbean. You're indigenous before you are everything else. Because that's how the world sees you. And this election showed it, because she didn't even win the popular vote. They literally allowed a white supremacist 34 convicted felon to be president because the white Latino aligned with white supremacy. They don't want you. So now my brown and black people and our allies, because there are white allies, so I'm not saying I don't like white people, right? The ones that actually voted on the right side of history. What are we going to do about that? They let you know you're not part of their community by voting in such huge numbers for somebody else. By Latinos. Look at the features of the people that are Latinos for Trump. Look at the Puerto Ricans that are for Trump. Look at the woman who's in power, this MAGA. They said Puerto Rico stands with you. Yeah, the nationality maybe, but not the people, not the indigenous people. Most native Puerto Ricans don't even live in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has been taken over by white people that are from America and other parts of the world because they purposely keep Puerto Rico poor. We are just as poor as Haiti, and people don't want to fucking say that shit. Almost 50% of the island in Puerto Rico, the true indigenous people of Puerto Rico, we are servants to white people that live in mansions. The white people that go to Puerto Rico make businesses and they don't pay taxes. The only people that pay taxes are indigenous Puerto Ricans and black Puerto Ricans, the actual true inhabitants of the island. We have a similar history to Hawaii. Can we talk about that? And when Puerto Rico finally said, Gen Z said, we no longer want to be a colony. We want to vote our own nationality or our own right to be our own country. MAGA cheated like they did in this election and said, no, you're not going to do that. Not only are we not going to allow you to be a state, we're going to allow you just to be a colony. You will never be free. That's what really happened. This whole narrative that Puerto Rico needs America is a lie. More money is given to America and siphoned from my homeland, both in Haiti and both in Puerto Rico. And it feeds European powers. This is why, as sad as this election is, I understand why the spirits told me in Fekgede, this is the last white supremacy stance. Brown people are finally going to have the revolution we always wanted. If we listen to our ancestors, we will be able to finally have our dignity and respect. Because some people really lived in this delusion that white supremacy was going to align with you. That if we were just some good brown folks and keep our heads down and keep quiet and don't talk about the things, that someday they would accept us. And it's not motherfucking true. My ancestors told me there's going to be race wars, and it's already happening. And to my black brothers and sisters, and specifically black women, this Afro-Latina stood with you on the right side of history. We are not the same as white supremacists, white Latinos. We're not. The brown indigenous Latino community stood with Kamala. And I'm asking you guys to stop separating us, because we are the true people of color. They're not people of color. They have gentrified that term. Spanish people are not people of color. They're white people. They started the slave trade. They're responsible. Those ancestors are responsible for why Black Americans got enslaved too. They started that ish, not us. I'm just really upset about this election. Like, I'm going to be honest. I have been looking for asylum because I have to figure out where I'm going to put my mother. Because I'm not going to give America the satisfaction of deporting my mother. America let us know what they think about Haitian people. They destabilize our countries and then tell us to get out of here. And it's crazy to me, America for Americans, when literally, again, I'm not talking about our allies. I'm talking about white supremacists. They're the immigrants. They're the immigrants to America. This is not their land. Hey, Abundance Life Tarot. Hey, Auntie K. Hey, everyone. I didn't even notice all of you guys came in here. um, that's what this election means to me. I may not be able to stay in America. I'm actually talking to people because if my mom is going to get out of this country, I'm going to go with my mom. I cannot be in a country that doesn't want me. I cannot be in a country. I could do civil rights stuff from far away. I don't know if you guys read some of Trump's proposals. He's going to not only dismantle the Department of Education, he's going to force your children. Remember, I told you that the caste system was created by the Catholic Church. Catholic Church enslaved our people. They forced their religion down our throats. I understand what you're saying, but I said, if they're going to mass deport my mother, I'm not going to stay in this country. I have to make sure my mother's okay. I cannot leave my elderly mother by herself in a foreign country. We're going to have to start something together. I am a daughter of immigrants, even though I have indigenous descent. So make that make sense. When they say they don't want Mexican indigenous people here, what are you talking about? You know that the Navajo tribe is also in Mexico and in America. And I know Navajo people that were born in Mexico that are considered illegal aliens when 70% of their genetic makeup is indigenous. How can a Native American be illegal to the country from the Americas they're from? Like, can we please make that make sense? Exactly. Do you get what I'm saying? So I have to be for my mama. Now, I'm hoping they don't come after my mama because she's been here so long and she's a resident, you know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. And she's getting her citizenship. But I don't know what's going to happen if he enacts the 1798 Act. Yeah, exactly. So hopefully my explanation of race makes sense now. Because again, the predominant population, 26 million people in the Latino community, are white. They're not people of color. We have to stop calling Spaniards and people that are descendant from Spaniards, people that are white, that are the white race, they're not people of color. The term people of color is anybody who's non-white. So that was what I wanted to explain. I wasn't going to justify the vote. I was trying to explain that within that group, there are actual marginalized people that did not vote that way. Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is a southern state. Does that? Yes, it is. Mexicans are not illegal. They're indigenous people. Like, you literally, the disrespect. That's another thing I want to talk about. The disrespect that our First Nation people get is so disgusting. Like, Kamala Harris was like the only person that reached out to First Nations people. And the fact that America aligned, like and I'm gonna tell you something. Can we stop the whole I'm the descendant of like the Cherokee princess or whatever? It's funny how our colonizers love to say they're indigenous, but don't defend it. Or I resonate with medicine people of the first indigenous people, blah blah blah, but would vote against the treaties that people have with the indigenous people. Disrespect tribal lands. But I'm gonna buy a car. I am such a spiritual activist. I'm gonna buy a card deck with the caricatures of indigenous people because that culture resonates with me. How many people in the spiritual community? I'm not saying everybody, but certain people. Where was their outrage with this election? Why aren't more people speaking out against the marginalized people in America? Yet you want to say that our black spirits call to you and make altars. And then when we say, hey, there's an actual religion that's connected to this, you kind of need to see a santero or a santera. You need to see a voodoo sant or a bokul, or you need to see a mambo or hugan so they could teach you how to work with these spirits. No, I don't want to do that. The black God is called to me. I don't have to go through your culture because I am the chosen one. And then they don't say nothing about this election. As a matter of fact, do you guys want to know the reason why I don't identify? I do identify with the marginalized people in the tarot community. I love you guys, and there are a few allies, but I've had So I'm not going to say name because that's not what it's about. The reason why I have disassociated with the tarot community is because they've admitted to my face Donald Trump is the best thing that happened to America. Looking how I look and then say racial stuff, but then they want black and indigenous people money for their spiritual businesses. But are telling me don't cry, it's going to be okay with Trump, LOL. Or have gone on my channel to make fun of my accent, but they're spiritual. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I did see that, my love. Yep, they did. So that's how I feel. I don't like everything Biden did because I don't, but I respected when he stopped the drilling, which made Canada mad because those pipelines are in indigenous lands. And another thing, you know why I don't live in a reservation, even though I can, technically speaking, because of my dad? May he rest in peace. There's no jobs. Okay. So I have to be detached from my own culture and live amongst people that don't like me. I walk in two different worlds because I am racially mixed. So I'm not black enough. I'm not indigenous enough. That's a whole nother video for another day. It's hard. And I'm scared for First Nations people not under Donald Trump. They died in such a high rate in the tribes when COVID was happening. The lack of funding that America gives to the people that actually inhabited this country first is disgusting. In my daughter's school, there's a caricature that's the school mascot. And when Indigenous and First Nation people said, we don't want to be a mascot or a caricature, can you please take that off the school? None of you are even Indigenous, please. A bunch of white people were mad. That's not racist. Who are you to say what's racist to a marginalized person? And when they did the right thing and take that disgusting portrayal off the school t-shirts and everything else, they put it back because white people were mad and called everybody else snowflakes. This is America. Yeah, it is. It is very heartbreaking. And why it hits me harder that Kamala lost, I'm going to be honest with you, than Hillary Clinton, is because even though she lost, she still has privilege because she's still a white cisgender woman, right? Dare I say that Kamala was more qualified than even Obama? She was one of the best candidates we ever had. If people actually took the time to read the things that she was going to do for Puerto Rico, the things that she was going to do for Latinos, the things she was going to do for Black people, Black farmers, everybody said, oh, the economy was the biggest thing. What? That's a fucking lie, because she actually had solutions to the economy. The fact that people in America don't understand what it is to be biracial, I think that's why I connected with Kamala so much, because people get mad when they're like, she's a Black woman. She never said she wasn't Indian too. Just because someone's biracial doesn't mean they're not that thing. This is why it's very hard for me. And when people say I'm mixed, I mix. And I had someone in the spiritual community like, why don't you just say you're Black? Like, you have a Black mom. Because America doesn't understand what biracial means. This is why I always have to make this disclaimer, like, I'm Black and indigenous, blah, 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 blah. Because like Kamala, our Blackness will be questioned. The fact that the man who won against her was allowed to say racist stuff. Oh, all of a sudden Kamala's black now. I thought she was Indian. Is disgusting. And people think that we're making it up. For people that have always lived in America, like myself and other marginalized people, we literally watched in real time America say we want a dictatorship. We want to burn down our democracy because, oh my God, a woman of color being in charge of the world. No, we'd rather be in white supremacy. But the few brown people that did vote against their own interests, that doesn't shock me because it's showing you in real time this is what America has always been. This is what America has always been built on. Indigenous and black people have always known that. So when people tell me they don't see my color, there's no such thing as race, we're all part of the human race. Tell that to all the people that voted for Donald J. Trump. Because you do see my race. You do see their gender. Kamala didn't only commit the sin of being a woman, she committed the sin of also being a person of color. That's why she couldn't even win the popular vote. And people like me may have to leave this country that I and my ancestors helped build. The fact that somebody won that literally said that my Haitian community eats cats and dogs, that Puerto Rico is a floating pile of garbage and whatever the hell he said about that. I'm sorry, the comedian said that. The fact that somebody won that literally treats black people like caricatures and said that they carve watermelons for Halloween, that he literally lied to people and made it seem like he was for the Palestinians. That's why so many people sat out, which I had a bad feeling about that. I've talked about that numerous times already. And now he's laughing, saying he's going to turn them into a parking lot because they're going to end the war in 24 hours and blow them up. The fact that he's celebrating the mass deportations, he's also going to create tent cities for homeless people because homelessness will be now a crime and you have to go to these special camps with psychiatrists and doctors and be forced to be separated from the regular population. And they're not going to give you shelter. They're going to put you in tents, work camps. Sounds like what they did in Germany. The fact that now teachers have to go to a special government approved school to get their certification and that they're literally going to vote out critical race theory. The fact that he's going to create a special unit force to arrest and take legal consequences of anybody who's anti-Christian. What does that sound like to you? When the Spirit said there was going to be a religious war, that confirms everything the Spirit's been telling me for the last 3 years. And this is why I was begging people on my channel to vote. And 18 million people said, I just don't care. We're going to be okay. Or I'm going to vote third party. This election doesn't mean anything. My one vote doesn't matter. And you know who I heard that the most from? Brown people, black people, Latino people. That I was begging for them to vote. And 18 million people sat out. And now those 18 million people are protesting. The protesting ain't gonna do nothing now. You're crying. The crying ain't gonna do nothing now. You literally threw our government because you were too lazy to just go pull a lever on the machine. But you know what I know? That MAGA always votes in high numbers. And I wish that the other party would do the same. I hope that we can learn from this. I hope that we have a country that still exists to learn from this because I do love America. And I wish that America will actually keep her promise. It's just, it's mind-boggling. Yeah. And then they're going to force our children to have Trump Bibles in school and force them to pray. You cannot say no to that. You know how before you could be like, oh, I don't want to participate in this because of religion? That don't exist. And if you have special needs kids, they don't want them in public school. So they're going to go back to before we fought for disability. And so I have a son who's intellectually impaired. So he has Down syndrome. And he also has severe autism. That is, he's always going to be a child that I have to take care of. I finally was able to sue the state and get money for my son so he can be able to take care of himself. And the state helps me financially so that I can be able to take care of my son, because my son's always going to live with me. My son has severe needs. He was supposed to graduate from high school when he's 22, and he might not be able to be in public education anymore because that's not going to exist. Our kids are going to lose their school lunches. They literally made a Christian Taliban in America. I never thought I would see the day to that. Our Constitution literally says the separation of state and religion. Yes, they are. They don't know how to stand on business. Hmm. But progressives need to understand this was not the election to sit out, and this was not the election. We would have done more by voting for Kamala. Because the thing about voting for Kamala, if you vote for democracy, if you don't like her stance for Palestine, I don't like their stance for Puerto Rico either. Hello, I am literally a descendant of countries they colonized too and genocided us too. So I can relate to that. But I understood the assignment, because if I didn't vote for democracy, I can always vote for a different candidate in 4 years. I can always have the right to assemble and protest. We could have voted for her and then protested the things we don't like. We could have protested her to the point where she would have done more for the Middle East. Do you think Donald Trump is going to respect our right to assemble and protest and care about Palestine at all? He literally said he's going to put the Muslim ban back. Do you get what I'm saying? This was not the time for progressives to be divided. This was not the election. What are we going to do for Palestinian brothers and sisters, for people like me that my island wants to be an independent nation, when Donald Trump is going to make protesting a federal crime? When Donald Trump is going to lock up women for having miscarriages for murder, anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 to life? Exactly, no. This was not the election to set out. This was not the election to do that. Because, like I said, if we didn't like Kamala, this is a democracy. We don't like somebody, we could vote them out. Nobody wanted Biden, he's out. You know what I'm trying to say? So this was not the election to do that. This was not the election to do that. So now we have to organize in America and protect marginalized people. And that's literally what I'm going to do behind the paywall. I'm talking to people. There's things I cannot say on here that I'm actively doing, because he's planning to suppress our freedom of speech. It's either fall in line and say, hail Trump, or things happen to you now. Yeah, Abundant Life Tarot. I don't blame you, because I'm going to do what you did and I'm going to go live somewhere else right now because, like I said, I'm a daughter of immigrants. I have to also think about my mother. I've been talking to a couple of clients in different parts of the world. I'm looking at the visa process and how much that's going to cost me. And I'm going to have to sell my house and put that on the market. Like, I'm not going to force my kids to live in a country that I'm going to be forced to be Christian, the religion that literally enslaved my people. Nothing against Christians, but the kind of Christianity they're proposing is the white supremacist form of Christianity. And I'm not doing that. One of the beautiful things about America was that we separated state and religion. One of the beautiful things about America is that we have freedom of choice. You don't want an abortion, don't get an abortion. But abortion also falls into ectopic pregnancies, falls into babies that die in utero. Uh, we're not going to be able to get DNCs anymore. And the states are like, oh, we did a protest vote, but our state secure abortion. People are not understanding that because now he has the House and Senate, it is very logical that he's going to pass a universal abortion ban, which means it doesn't matter if you're in a blue state, you're going to lose your right to abortions and women care. So again, the most important election of our lifetime, and America threw it in the trash. When people vote third party, because we allowed white supremacy to use the oppression of Hamas and Gaza people, when there were actually people within the Palestinian community, it was, some people that like, no, they did protest vote, but there was also a group of people that nobody talked about. They were begging us to vote because they said, we will be worse under Trump. We can always protest Kamala. Nobody listened to that group of people. White supremacists took that struggle and used it to bully the BIPOC community for voting for democracy and said a bunch of very anti-Black stuff to us. Exactly. And when Donald Trump was president, I noticed that some of the people I was friends with in the spiritual community were not my friends. And I think that was the most heartbreaking thing for me. And I'm sorry, I cannot be friends with MAGA people. I don't care if you're in the spiritual community or not. I don't want to understand your point of view. They're not all bad people. I don't want to hear it. I'm not trying to be rude or whatever. I have no sympathy for that. Whether you're part of the BIPOC community and voted for him, whether you're not, I don't want to hear it. Because you voted against my mother, my grandfather, myself, my daughters that now have no reproductive rights. They have less rights than I do now. My mother didn't march with the Black Panthers and the Young Lords and the sit-outs to live in this type of America. I had to explain to my daughter why they hate us so much. Because she had all over her room, we're gonna break the glass ceiling. She stood up that day. We're gonna let her be absent for school because she wanted to see us make history by voting the first woman, Black and Asian president. My son, who was disabled, voted for the first time, and he was so excited. I had to console my children that cried themselves to sleep. My daughter works in a school, my oldest daughter. You know how many Black girls came up to her and said, why do they hate Black girls so much? And hugged my daughter and said, I'm scared. These are the things people don't think about when they vote on the wrong side of history. What are we telling our Black daughters? That no matter how qualified you are, America aligns with a criminal, a supremacist. That's what America said. And I am disgusted that not more people in the spiritual community are even talking about this. Silence is being complicit. That's why so many years ago I made that video. Are you really an ally for marginalized people? Are you? And don't tell me that you're an empath and this is too emotional for you, or spirituality isn't political, because it is. Literally, Haiti got its independence and was able to overthrow slavery through voodoo. And that's what I'm going to lean on during these times, my spirits that told me that this was going to happen. And this whole let's come together with the other side and try to understand them, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't need to. That's not the time for that either. It's time to get together with actual Black, Indigenous, and people of color and create a movement, a pro democracy movement. Yeah, trying to literally make the whole country Christian. Like that's crazy to me. That they would try to make the whole country Christian. But then want to sit here and, oh, we don't like the Taliban, or oh my goodness, they shouldn't be doing that, but you're doing the same thing here in America. What are you talking about? They're planning to get rid of no contest divorces because they believe that if you're beat up by your husband, you need to stay married to him. That's what people voted for. And the sad part is that such a huge population of the female population voted for that. I feel bad for white women too, to be honest. The ones that actually voted for Kamala, the fact that their own race of people voted against their autonomy, like that's hurtful. Because the spirit of white supremacy, it's a spirit, lives and thrives off the suffering of marginalized people. This has always been the history in America. This has always been the history in European countries. It's why I don't like the monarchy. Sorry, not sorry. The British monarchy has a very racist history, guys. When people are like, oh, I don't know why in Africa they're saying Africa for Africans and South Africa's fighting for certain things, is because there are parts of Africa that there are literally being controlled by European influences. And the only people that make money in their own homeland are the European powers like the French. You know how much of Britain wealth has been on the backs of Black Caribbean people, of slavery? Same thing with Spain too. This is why there's people in Africa that have a movement that are saying we want to get foreign powers out of our country. We want the rich and the wealth and the natural resources of our country to create prosperity and stability and financial comfort for Black people. I told people years ago that I see the falling of America because the ancestors are tired of the colonization and racism that exists in these world powers. I told people that I was going to see a mass exodus of the BIPOC community from America. Everything that I said is happening. I didn't want it to happen, but I've been saying this for like 3 or 4 years. When I predicted the pandemic, I predicted that too. I have clients that will tell you I did. But these are things that I see that I don't want to happen. So all we can do now is go into our ancestors, the people that have no choice but to stay, organize, the people that have to leave. If they get their family members deported, you can still be active in foreign countries. And this is the time to go to our ancestors for guidance. This is a time to align ourselves with the BIPOC community, create alliances with white people that are actually really our allies. Because, you know, a lot of people think that Malcolm X only worked with Black people. Malcolm X worked with white people, brown Hispanic people. He did a bunch of different coalitions for different groups of people to get their freedoms too. Okay, he had the Black movement. He also helped other people, the poor white people organize and all these other things. So I tend to think along those lines too. We're gonna have to do some grass root movements for those of you that are going to be stuck in America. And America needs to learn from this lesson that we should never be complicit. Stronger than a protest is voting. If our vote wasn't important, they wouldn't be gerrymandering, doing voter suppression, 48 bomb threat, throwing out paper ballots, because people have to understand the most powerful thing that an American citizen has is your right to vote. The biggest protest you could ever do is exercising your right to vote. Your ancestors died for that, got lynched for that. And when you in our community did not vote, you disrespected the ancestors that marched for your right to vote. And that goes for women too, because women had to do a whole civil rights movement for the women movement so you can have the right to vote. And we spit in the face of the people that came before us when the people did not vote. Not voting is just as bad as voting for MAGA. Voting third party was just as bad as not voting for as voting for MAGA. It's all the same. We're going to have to do a lot to get our democracy back. We have to pray to our ancestors that he doesn't destroy the environment, because now he's going to roll back all the environmental protection stuff that Harris and Biden had. So we're going to pollute a planet. Like, my kids need to have a planet to live in. He wants to be able to drill in protected land. And the fact that the other side that won is laughing and calling us liberals and saying, oh my God, liberal tears taste so good. And they're celebrating and they're emboldened. I just saw a video of a MAGA person screaming in the face of a Black woman in the South and threatening her life, and a bunch of people just being complicit and walking by her. I have stories of clients telling me they went to the doctor's office and people were dressed in MAGA and they were like, MAGA, you're gonna get shipped away, and just celebrating and everything. And I'm ashamed of my own community who voted for Trump myself. So I relate to the embarrassment myself. I agree with you, Abundant Life Tarot. And you know what was the most hurtful that I'm gonna talk about? I don't even care. Y'all could cancel me if you want to. The fact that I had people from my own spiritual community trying to bully me to say that I wasn't gonna vote for anybody because I have to stand with what's going on in the Middle East. Someone who is not even part of a group of people that weren't even part of marginalized groups bullying me and calling me racist, when I have always been pro independence of any marginalized culture. I mostly talk about racial issues on my channel. I'm not just a I make videos. Like, I actually am part of organizations, grassroots organizations. I march for disenfranchised people. I vote for disenfranchised people. I literally made a whole spiritual practice based on marginalized spiritual people. Like, what are we talking about right now? And to find out that these people that were doing that, some of them with huge platforms, were being paid by MAGA to spread misinformation, to intimidate the BIPOC community for saying they were going to vote for Kamala. A lot of people that look like us, they're like, oh, MAGA won. They got paid to say that. They got paid to make some of us sit out, to make some of us do a protest vote and vote third party or write in a candidate. They got paid. To know that my own community, some people in my own community sold us out and purposely spread misinformation, got my channel shadow banned. I was in jeopardy a couple of times during this election to lose my channel because I wouldn't say what they wanted me to say. This election showed me, yes. And the fact that people from my own community, you know how hurtful that is, Abundant Life Tarot, that people from our own community literally tried to have my channel shut down because I wouldn't say I was pro anything, tried to force me to make videos of us. And I made a video like, I never said I wasn't pro Palestine, but I'm also pro Congo and I'm pro the liberation of Puerto Rico. That's what I'm talking about. Those people that did that to you, they were paid by Trump. You know how I figured out that MAGA was using such a sad thing that was happening? When I started seeing Free Palestine with people that wore MAGA hats. And I was like, oh, that's what it is. They use the pain of other people to get us not to vote because they knew they were going to lose the election. And then the disgusting thing that he did when he literally stood behind the Israelite flag and said, gotcha, we're going to blow these people up. We're going to put the Muslim ban to people that are already suffering genocide. And I can relate to that because his administration killed 5,000 Puerto Rican people, indigenous Puerto Rican people, because he took aid from my island. And when I begged the spiritual community to do a hashtag to raise money, a lot of people told me, we don't like to get involved in politics. So I've been feeling alone for a long, long time. I feel like Donald Trump has showed me who a lot of people are. There are people that I'm not friends with that I grew up with that are like, yeah, I'm MAGA. They need to take all those people away. I'm like, my mother's an immigrant. No, but she's one of the good immigrants. Do you think? What? You're my friend. We grew up together, went to school together. Like, what you mean? Like, MAGA has really exposed people that I just never thought would align with those ideals. This is why when he had those empty rallies, I didn't believe it. I was like, he has a whole secret following that behind the vote box are going to vote for him. They're just not going to publicly say they endorse him. There's going to be people that say they're going to vote for her and they're not even going to vote for her. I had a feeling, but you try to be optimistic. You try to think there's more good people than bad people. But America proved us wrong. You did too, see? And that's hurtful. And I started seeing that when I made my video about George Floyd. I still get backlash from the George Floyd video. When I was one of the people that made the video about George Floyd and how I was marching with Black Lives Matters and I shared like marches that I did, I still get backlash for that. When I made my video about cultural appropriation, that's one of the videos I don't have comments on no more because of how much racist rhetoric to this day people have tried to post on that video that I had to literally take the comments off because I said that people should respect close traditions. Okay. It's terrible. Exactly. 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 And I think the most hurtful thing for some people is finding out that your family voted MAGA. Like I have transgender clients and friends that secretly found out that their own parents voted to make laws against their whole identity and orientation. Like, how are you going to tell me you love your child if you want to vote for a person who's transphobic? What? I have people that told me that their own spouses, because they're like, and I'm not saying this about all interracial relationships. I have someone that I was consoling yesterday. She told me I could share the story, but not say who she is. She found out that her husband voted for Trump, thinking that he was always active for our people, and he voted for Trump. He voted against her, who is a black immigrant. Her own husband that she has kids with. You voted against your own children. What are you like? This is how deep racism is, guys. Yes. There are brown people that are literally for white supremacy. I don't understand that either. I don't understand it, Auntie K, and I do understand it. If we look at, see, a lot of my videos on and my clients told me I didn't know that. A lot of my videos are demonetized too. It's why like I don't really monetize my videos because they get reported. So if you don't monetize it, I could be more at lib, which is a pay cut for me. It is what it is. But I don't monetize a lot of my videos anymore because a lot of my older videos they were about like black spirituality, uh, indigenous spirituality. They've been demonetized, reported, and everything else. That's what I said. I don't know if that's her ex-husband or not, but she was telling me, and I was like, girl, you in danger. You's in danger. Okay. You are in danger. But can I talk about something else before I get off here? There is a lack of ethics in the tarot community too. Like, you know how some people do like there's people in the tarot community that do like readings and stuff and they'll do like community readings. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. I never cared about that. Prediction reading, that doesn't bother me. I'm very traditional on that. When I say they lack integrity, is I have never agreed with tarot readers going online and doing readings on the elections. And the reason why I say that is even though I saw Kamala losing this election because of cheating and a lot of other stuff, I never said that on my channel because I believe in free will. By you telling people, I guarantee you she's going to win and it's a landslide, people that were on the fence, like, I don't know if I want to vote because of their stance in the Middle East and stuff like that, that was also a form of voter suppression because you're telling people, you're guaranteeing people that she's going to win. So then they're comforted, like, okay, I can make my stand by voting uncommitted or voting third party because these spiritualists that I trust are saying she's going to win anyways. So I don't have to compromise my morals, right? But know that people are going to still vote and I can still protest her. We're going to still have democracy. And basically, this person's going to get blocked. Okay. Yes, you are blocked. You are not going to tell me to be quiet and you're not going to tell me to shut up and accept the stuff. Okay? So you're done and this is a safe space and you will not silence me. Have a nice day. Yes, thank you. Anyways, I don't need to shut nothing up. So basically, I even lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what was I talking about, guys? I really actually lost my train of thought. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, the lack of ethics. So and if you notice the number of followers, right? You have to understand that MAGA paid certain people. So he paid these white spiritualists predominantly to say that we were going to win the elections. You don't think these people got paid to say that to you? And now they're changing it, right? They're acting like QAnon now. Oh, you guys misunderstood the words. I said she was going to win, but there was going to be cheating. But on January 6th and January 20th, watch how they crown her the president. So you have a bunch of spiritual people that are like sad. Oh my goodness. I listened to you and I sat out this election and blah, 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 blah. Don't worry. We're going to get it, guys. All of a sudden, this miraculous thing is going to happen and she's going to be the president. You're literally a disgusting human being. You're making money off something. You are suppressing the vote. It's terrible. Yes. But that's different, Auntie Kate. Your reading said it would be an end to tradition. Also, I know for a fact, even if you did a predictive reading, right, you would never encourage your followers not to vote. You know that the people that were not our allies were encouraging people not to vote because no matter what happens, we're going to be okay. That is a form of voter suppression. And now, because they, what I'm saying, some of them have egg in their face, they're trying to change it to something else. Remember how, like, the other side swore that Donald Trump was going to be our president in January? They're doing this to people on our side, right? And it's bringing so many views. Please join my live while I read about the energies and how Kamala's going to be our president. They're going to overturn the election. And they're making money off that. They're making money off people's pain and exploitation. And that's sad. And that's unethical. And that's why, even though, because I was like, hey guys, you should vote, you should vote, you should vote. I was like, I'm gonna vote for Kamala. You should vote. Da 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 da. Um, and I don't even like doing that, but I just felt like this election was too important because I usually try to not tell people what to do, but and I did have a ritual and kind of told my coven like the spirits are saying it's not going to be good. You know what I mean? But I still told them to vote anyways because I believe in free will. These spiritualists are still selling false hope and making money and capitalizing on false hopes. And I think that is the most saddest thing. That is the equivalent of people like selling water to people that are victims of a natural disaster and charging like $30 for a gallon of water. Oh, I got that too. Because when I asked my guides, right? This is what I shared that with, like, if a client paid me, I was like, hey, I still want you to vote, but I feel like she's gonna win, but there's gonna be interferences where they're gonna like throw out votes and stuff. And I don't see her being the president, right? That's what my spirits told me. Like, she's going to win, but like I don't see her being the president, which is exactly what happened. The spirits also told me, like, I was telling a lot of my clients, like, start investing, start, putting some money away, because I see like famine, I see like financial instabilities. I see a lot of Americans leaving America in exodus. So I've been warning people for the last couple of years about this when they do readings with me. Um, so they already kind of knew. They're like, that's what you were saying. Okay. So, because there's nothing wrong with doing that. But when you use your divination to tell people not to vote, to me, that's unethical. That's the equivalent of people, like, I've had people tell me, well, my reader said I don't have to go to chemo because if I buy a crystal, I'm going to get healed. That is so unethical. Like, you're literally exploiting on the desperation of someone who's ill to make money off a crystal. And I believe in both things. I believe in spiritual healing, but I also believe you need to go to the doctor. Like, we have to have ethics as spiritualists, and telling people not to vote because they're good when they're on the fence of voting or not voting is a very sad thing to me. So yeah, so they're doing that. Like, oh, there's just so many things going on. There's people coming on people's channel and telling Black women not to feel the way they feel. And I've also seen channel trying to like make Black women go against Black men and say he won the election because of Black men, which is not true. They're like the second highest voting demographics that voted for Kamala. So this whole divide and conquer thing is sad to me. It's just, that's what they want. Yeah, it's terrible. But anyways, guys, I've been on live for a while. I'm sorry, I've been talking your ears off, but I had to vent. And YouTube don't like me. They don't, when I make videos, they literally don't put them in your guys' algorithm or recommend them. Or but I go live, people actually, like, you guys will watch this back because I'm doing the playback feature. But all I can say is we have a lot of praying to do. Let's unify. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do. You know, I'm so sorry, Abundant Life Tarot, that America voted against your interest, and Auntie K and all marginalized people and women. I'm so sorry that supremacy won. I want to close this live if you guys are okay with it. You don't have to. I was thinking of doing like a group prayer. You can pray to whatever your deities and whatever you resonate with, and kind of just praying to the ancestors to guide us and help us to organize and be safe. Okay. So I'm just, if that doesn't resonate with you, I understand, but I just feel intuitively to do that. It really does. I pray, Creator, God, Spirit, Mother, Father, God, ancestors, to guide us through these difficult times. Please help us, our allies, and the Black, Indigenous, people of color community unite at this time. Not allow us to be divided and to be conquered. Help us to be able to stand up against this regime that's about to take power in a couple of months. I ask that you can put your protection on us, our spiritual protection, that you could give us the power of warriors that we come from, that you can give us this fire, that we do not feel broken or destroy, but that we can be incensed with the spirits of our ancestors, because we come from people that fought against genocide. This is not the first time this happens in our country. We come from people that they try to genocide and literally extinct our existence. We come from people that were suppressed from voting. We come from people that, fought against slavery, fought against tyranny. And I ask that you can infuse us with this spirit. I ask that you would not allow the people that voted for democracy to go into silence. I ask that you can help us to finally break the chains of imperialism, of colonialism. I pray that you can help the Palestinian people win their freedom. I pray that you can help the people of Puerto Rico win their freedom. I pray that you can help all our indigenous brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora to win their freedom. I pray that you can help us to save our environments. And I pray that you could create a movement of people that are going to unite with our spirituality and say no to this oppression, to this theocracy, so that people that live in other countries can come back to America. I ask that you can help us at this dark time to not give up, to not surrender. I know that our ancestors are powerful. We come from strong people. Help to restore democracy. Help us to comfort the youth that is crying to us, the children that are going to school today that are fearful. Do not allow the mass shootings to come back like they were under Trump. Do not allow for us to suffer through another pandemic. Please allow the leaders that are still in power to fight for us. Do not allow us to suffer. Help us to fight to live another day. We need you now more than ever, our spirits. I pray to my Loas, to my Orishas, to my Madama spirits. La Madamas, I pray to you because I know you've been through stuff. Help us to have your strength when you were not even considered a person. You were considered 3/4 of a person. Understand that when they wrote the Constitution and they said we the people, they did not include Black and Indigenous people in that. Help us to finally end the systems of white supremacy. Help us to fight to finally get rid of white supremacy all over the world. Help all our indigenous brothers and sisters that are trying to get our lands restored. My people are doing that too. Help Black brothers and sisters that are now going to be suffering under police immunity. Give us the strength that we need and guide us in the way that we need to go. I ask that you send healing energies to all of us today, to our children, to those people that are Americans that are living in other parts of the world. They may have to escape in a mass exodus. We ask for your strength right now, ancestors. Give us the strength for every spiritual person that's an ally or part of a marginalized group to offer comfort to our clients, to our community, and people that are going to be seeking us now because they don't know what to do or what to think. This is the time for us to be healers now and offer comfort to the people that look for us for spiritual guidance. Help us not to burn out. We thank you, spirits, because we know we're not alone. We know that one day we'll be able to get rid of the MAGA movement, Donald Trump, the people that think like him. Amen. All right, guys. Well, much love and light. I thank you so much. Share this live. Yes, Auntie K, to all my relations, and my friends, Black and Indigenous folks have already survived apocalypse. We will survive this. We will. Because all right, white supremacists, the thing they fear the most is our spirituality. Because they know that we stand on the shoulders of powerful ancestors that gave their life for the close traditions that we practice. Do you understand that your Madama Congo spirits gave their life for you to be able to practice Ifa and Santeria? My indigenous ancestors gave up their life so I could work with my semi spirits and Atabe and Yukayu so we could preserve our culture and our languages. So we got this. It hurts, but we got this. We have to really lean into our spirituality. Because, like the Spirit's been telling me for years, it's going to be a race and religious war. I will not be forced to do a religion that I do not believe in. I don't have anything against Christians, but I'm not a Christian. I have the right to openly practice Santeria and Haitian Voodoo because that's my cultural practices. Those are my connections. I have the right to practice my Taino spirituality because that's my culture. That's my connection with my ancestors. There is power in melanin. There is power in our spirits. Why do you think so many cultures want to culturally appropriate our spirits? Because there's power in our spirits. We need to lean on them like the Haitians did in the Haitian Revolution. Because that's what they did. They did a famous voodoo ritual. And then they freed themselves from slavery. We got our civil rights movements in America from the Black churches, having secret meetings there through our hoodoo in the South. We had over 300 slave revolts that the schools don't teach you about. The school wants to teach our children that we just let ourselves be enslaved. They had a lot of people that fought against that, and they don't teach us that history. I had to learn that history on my own. So let's start learning our own history. Let's start teaching our children. Let's start instilling them pride, because this fascist alt-right movement wants to make you ashamed of your indigenous and African and brown history. They want to demonize our religion. You notice this is a movement to demonize anything that doesn't align with the white supremacist church beliefs. Because anything that's outside of that is demonic and evil. So that tells me that I need to rely on those spirits even more. They didn't like Kamala because she practices Hinduism and Obadiah. Because I know people who are related to her and they told me, yeah, she practices African spirituality and she practices Hinduism. And they don't like that. So this is the time for us to embrace our stuff even more. And I'm going to leave you with that. We have to really pull together and rely on our spiritual practices. Do not let them take away your spirituality. I don't care if you have to go back in the closet with it. Don't let them take away your spirituality. Much love, much blessings. As they say in Haiti, ayi bobo. As they say in Santeria, ashe. Much love and light, guys. I love you guys. Bye.